So we'll start with overheads. The method of absorbing or adding the overhead spent to the product is called absorption costing. So we are going to study this here. Indirect material, indirect labor and indirect expenses will be the overhead incurred in the factory and other thing. So in this, for the calculations part, first for the calculation for our part, we have predominant steps here. One is primary distribution. Second one being secondary distribution of the overheads. And third step is finding overhead recovery rate. Fourth step is absorption. The common cost is not directly linked with any of the goods. Will be somehow identified, and based on overhead recovery rate, we can add to the product's cost. That process is called absorption. That's why this costing is called absorption costing. After the absorption, we compare the actual cost absorbed along with the cost incurred. Okay, absorption and cost incurred. Finding the difference, if any, under or over absorption. Under or over absorption. Under or over absorption. Later on, that under or over absorption may be somehow adjusted, that is called treatment of that. Accounting method to adjust this. Treatment of the above. These are the 6 steps. See, whatever the goods you manufacture, you can find out easily direct material, direct labor, and direct expenses for that, and summation of this will be the prime cost. There may be some common cost, that should also be addable, right? But common cost is the comprehensive amount you spend. It's not for a product. If you want to prepare a cup of coffee, you know how much milk you need. That's called direct material. How much wages you are paying to the tea master or coffee master in the tea shop. Tea master will be usually honored with the 2 rupees or 3 rupees for the tea prepared. Easily you can link 3 rupees and 3 rupees. That's how the prime cost is determined. But now what happens for the common place? Rental for the common place. Expenses we incur for cleaning and maintaining that place. And gas spent for cooking. And common vessels and washing and other things. All those things cannot be linked for the tea. For 100 milk tea, you can find out the rate, and that may be one of the ingredients of the tea preparation. Oh, it's okay. If the laborers are paid based on the number of teas he prepared in the day, then also be linked. But the common cost we cannot calculate for every tea. Then how can we identify the tea cost, means overhead cost for the tea prepared? Right. So then the common costs are now allocated or apportioned for the various departments. Usually, wherever you go, you have 2 types of departments. One is revenue generating capacity based department, another one is supporting department for the revenue generation. Clear? Supporting department. If you take a college, a normal arts and science college, not specialized college, like library science or sports specialized college. We have the commerce department, computer science department, arts department. Other than these 2, pure arts. Is that okay? Apart from that, there may be library, sports department also. Library and sports department students are not admitted for those departments because their general motto of running the colleges to educate CA, means this one, commerce and computer science and arts. Not for what? Any qualifications for getting teachers' educations for sports and library science. But the library and sports department are meant for these 2 department people to enjoy. So the students are admitted in the college. They will join the college only based on the other facilities they have, not only the course. If I join the colleges only for the course, even small hall is more than enough. Is that okay? But I need to have the ambience and facilities, canteen and all. Colleges are providing those facilities also, where we have only cost. If I run the commerce department, I can admit the students for the commerce graduation, I can collect the fees. Cost is spent for running the department can be subtracted to find out the end results, whether there is a profit or loss. But what happens in the case of sports department, library department? We have only cost to run, but we don't have the revenue. The cost I spent for running the commerce department can be recoverable from you, means commerce students. The cost for running the library, again the cost for running the common departments where we don't have the revenue, no, redistributed to other revenue generating department. Commerce, computer science and arts are the revenue generating department, and students are admitted and revenues generated by collecting the fees. In that fees, we will now recover small amount for the spending of running the two more departments like library and sports. So the income generating department may be named as production department P1, P2, P3 like. And we have S1 and S2. Those other departments supporting for this production department will be called as service departments. These three departments having the capacity to generate the revenue, and these two departments having no revenue but needed to support for the revenue generating department. So this will be called the production department, and these are called service department. Clear? Now, the common cost like indirect material, indirect labor, electricity and maintenance, all the costs we incur commonly, rental, all these things. Those things are going to be shared to this department based on some basis of allocation or apportionment. Allocation or apportionment. For example, if you want to allocate the rental expenses or apportion the rental expenses, the overall rental for the entire premises maybe 1 lakh. I need to find out how much rent is for the P1 department and how much is for the P2 and all. I can simply calculate based on the area covered. How much of the area is occupied by P department, P1 department and P2 department. Usually rent may be fixed based on the square feet occupied. So similarly, based on the square feet occupied, this rent may be allocated to all these departments, Is that clear? This is called basis of allocation and apportionment. Okay, small difference is there, allocation and apportionment. Okay, it may be either allocation or apportionment. Okay, apportionment. We can follow one of the methods. You can follow one of the methods. Either you can allocate or apportion to this department based on some basis. Rent can be allocated using the area. Power can be allocated based on the horsepower of machines consumed or installed in the departments. Electricity is based on the number of switch points or submeter if we have. That's how we can calculate all these things. Such a way the common costs, all these things are common costs, are allocated to all these 5 departments. Okay. There may be some direct material and direct labor also. Direct material and direct labor. Direct material and direct labor are directly recoverable from the concerned product manufactured. So, you no need to show here. Not applicable. Not applicable. Not applicable. Not applicable. If the books are purchased for distributing the commerce students, the management may decide what is the fees we can recover from the commerce students. Sir, this is the fees we collected that is meant for the books. So the amount collected for the books is recoverable directly from the customers, from the person who is enjoying. Now what happens in case of books purchased for the library, sports material and equipment purchased for the sports department? Those things are direct for the sports. I cannot say billiards table I purchased only for your admission, give me the fees additionally for that. You'll say, I never go to that billiards table, sir. Give me a discount. Library books also we purchase, established so big library because of you only. Give me 500 rupees, sir. I don't go to library at all. What's the use at all? Huh? ChatGPT says. So that's how we'll now make a decision. That's how we can make a decision. Any of the cost we incurred for those departments, though it may be direct, not linked directly with the students who study there, okay, then it becomes indirect only. It will be taken. It will be taken. In case of direct material and direct labor for the service department becomes indirect. Direct material and direct labor for the production department can be directly recoverable from the customers, calling this being the prime cost. So we have now allocated or apportioned common costs to various departments. Thereafter, understand, if as I consider the college only as an example, this one may be assumed to be commerce department, this may be assumed to be computer science department, this may be arts or language department. Overall cost we have found out here. Now, for the commerce students, I can recover this amount. Sir, this is the amount we spend only for the running the department commerce, so you have to pay me. You will pay. But what about this one? We don't have the options to recover it because there is no any revenue generated, especially for these two service department. So this cost will also be now redistributed to the production department. Keeping that also part of the cost, we can now recover from the customers. So if I redistribute that, now what happens? You will now get inflated value. This is called secondary distribution. Is that clear? After the secondary distribution, whatever the value you get, that's what about the overall cost for the department. 1 lakh, 2 lakhs and 50,000. That's how we can assume. Right, this is the total cost, total overhead for the production departments only. Service department, that service department cost is also now added to production department's overhead like. Now, if you are being the commerce student, the fees may be like this. Some materials are issued worth rupees 1,500, study note and all issued. And commerce process are for you only, so the amount payable to them also recovered probably around 3,000 rupees. Apart from that, the area rental, the maintenance, electricity bill, how can I recover? The person who occupies the hours more will be responsible for more cost incurrences, right? Directly linked with the number of hours you stay in the college. So we now find out the based on the cost per labor hour. So direct labor hour or labor overhead per labor hour. Maybe 10,000 hours, 1,000 hours, and this may be around 1,000 hours, and this may be around 1,000 hours. All the three departments are functioning for 1,000 hours. Right. For 1,000 hours, the overall cost being 1 lakh. If you divide that by this one, 100 rupees is the cost of running 1 hour of this department. P2 cost us 200, P3 cost us 50. This 100 rupees, 200 rupees, 50 rupees found out based on the labor hour consumed by the department or worked by the department. This will be called overhead recovery rate. Otherwise, overhead per direct labor hour. Assume that a commerce student gets a service from the commerce department around 10 hours and computer science department around 3 hours and language department hours too. So what happens if you join the commerce course? Predominant teachers are from the commerce department. Some allied paper like any math or computer science paper if you have, okay, that concerned department will come and service you. In case of sports and other departments or language also you have. Cost of running commerce department is 100 rupees per hour, so the commerce students get 10 hour service. This fellow gets 3 hour service per hour, it costs me 200. And the same person gets 2 hour service from the language department per hour, it costs us 50. So 1,000, 600 and 100. So 1,700 being the overhead. If I add that overhead with the prime cost, then you'll get the cost of production. This is 4,500. This is 1,700. Overall, 6,200. That's how the cost of production is found out. This common cost identified for the goods, and that cost is now inflated by adding this. Otherwise, this product absorbs the common cost of this method. That's why it is called absorption costing. So you have to understand subsequently what? You have to understand subsequently what? The difference between allocation and apportionment. I will guide in subsequent lectures. Next, how do I calculate the overhead recovery rate, sir? Is it only by direct labor hours, sir? No. Sometimes it may be labor hour, machine hour. Sometimes it may be prime cost or labor cost or prime means the material cost. Material cost. Sometimes the sales unit. We'll see a comprehensive illustration on that. So the overhead recovery rate possible in 6 different ways. 6 different ways. We are going to study all these things one after one. Clear? Apart from that, you have to understand, this is what about the estimation we have given while giving the offer, means order. You will always ask for the quotation, what could be the estimated costs are. Based on the estimation, we will offer. Okay, you can go ahead with doing that, so I will be happy with that. That's how the questions are. Clear? Direct labor. This is the predominant one. And the actual cost once incurred, only we will be able to identify what is the actual cost. The value what we have calculated is based on previous year estimations, maybe 100 rupees. But the actual cost is around 90 rupees. What does it mean? This is called over absorption, because based on the previous year value, if I find out the value of the commodity or overhead for a commodity, then it's called absorption. This is what about the incurrence. If the absorption is higher, then it's over absorption. Suppose the actual cost is 110, then it's called under absorption. How to treat this one also be studied here. So once we complete all these things, the chapter is over. And the secondary distribution, you have 3 methods to distribute. 3 methods to distribute. So these are the things you have to understand. That secondary distribution, so how many methods we have here? One is a repeated direct distribution method. Another one is a step or ladder method. Another one is reciprocal method. Under reciprocal method, we have 3 methods. You can choose one of the method as you wish, unless specifically asked in the question. Repeated distribution method, trial and error method, and simultaneous equation method. Simultaneous equation method. These are the 3 methods. Primary distribution will be done with the help of a basis of allocation and apportionment. And overhead recovery rate can be found out based on 6 bases. We have 6 bases for finding the overhead recovery rate. Based on that, you can then go for absorption. What are the 6 bases we have? One is direct labor R, another one is machine R, labor R, machine R. Another one is labor cost, direct labor cost, or material cost. And prime cost. Prime cost is a combination of these 2. Last one being the sales unit. So you need to decide among the 6 bases which base seems to be more logical for the company or industry or supposed to calculate the secondary, means overhead recovery rate. So you can follow the method. Absorption can be either, it may be under or over absorption. Under absorption or over absorption may be possible. So you have to understand. How can we treat that? So these are the only 6 steps you have to understand. Clear? So overhead accounting steps. Collection, classification, codification of overheads. First step. What is the common expenses we incurred for running the business? Rent, power, electricity. Such a way you are collecting the data and classify the data and codify the data. Second one is all about allocation, apportionment and reapportionment of overheads. Allocation, apportionment and reapportionment of overheads. Either it may be allocation or apportionment, or you can go for the reapportionment. Allocation apportionment is for the primary distribution. Allocation and apportionment. Reapportionment is all about secondary distribution. Under secondary distribution, three predominant methods: direct method, step or ladder method, reciprocal. Under reciprocal, we have three methods. And then you can absorb the overhead based on the applicable base here. Overhead rate, actual overhead rate. Okay. These are the things you are going to study. What is the main difference between allocation and apportionment? For example, the rent paid or electricity being 1000 rupees you pay for the entire hall. Now, assume that the first hall being 60% area, second hall being 40% area. Now, I want to find out what is the electricity bill for the first hall, what is the electricity bill for the second hall. Based on the area occupied, I can simply share this to these two. 600 rupees is the electricity bill for the first hall, 400 rupees is the electricity bill for the second hall. This is all about what? This is all about apportionment of overhead. Apportionment, okay? Based on the area occupied. Or you can think over number of switch points you have there. Here in this wall, you have 2 switch points. In this wall, you have only 1 switch points. In that case, based on switch points also you can allocate. So 2 switches, 2 lights are there. For the small one, only 1 switch is there. Means only 1 light. So naturally, 1000 rupees you spend, 2 switches will consume more and 1 switch consumes lesser. So 2:1 can be used here. 667 is for the first room and 333 being the second room's electricity cost. That's how you can calculate. Clear? That's how you can calculate here. But seems to be logically correct, like the hall which has 2 switches functions only once a week. But the hall with 1 switches, round the clock it's working. Naturally, the value what we have segregated is not correct one, it's only approximate. So you get the value distributed to the departments approximately. Approx. But I can have a switchboard here, means meter reading here and here. The overall meter consumed being 100, out of that, in this hall, 450 units were consumed, here 550 units consumed, and this being for 1000 units. So then the electricity bill per unit being 1 rupee. Department 1, based on this reading from the sub-meter or main meter, you can find out the overhead being 450, here it is 550. This is called allocation. Allocation is nothing but you find out what is the total electricity for this department. This whole cost is for that department only. We are not going to find out and share this for the various departments. I am able to find out what is the exact electricity bill for the first room. That whole value is now added to that department's overhead. It's not going to be further distributed to the other department. That's how the question may be asked in the examination. The whole overhead of the department is directly added to the concerned department, will be called as allocation or apportionment. Apportionment means it's incorrect. Explain that. If it is allocation, then it's correct one. Allocation of overheads are identifiable directly with some products or departments allocation. Departments. Allocation is charging whole of identifiable cost to such as cost center. This whole amount is only for this department. This department is a cost center. So I can directly add this for this department. Factors for allocation. Concerned department. Product is the cost for incurrence of the cost. And exact cost is computable. Exact cost is computable. Example, wages and material for service departments are allocated to the service department. Okay, if these things are for service department, it's meant only for that. Electricity charges identified using sub-meter is allocated to such department. Sub-meter, if you have, then it's called allocation. We don't have sub-meter based on area or number of switch points and a rough basis. If I allocate, then it's called apportionment. Clear? Hope you will be now able to understand this one. Okay, direct, step or ladder method, we have everything. So for finding what is the overhead for a department or a product manufacturer, you have to go ahead with 6 points. Now tell me, how do you prepare the cost sheet? Cost sheet for a product. direct material. From where you will get this? Stores ledger account. From there you will get this. Am I right? We have studied that in the material costing chapter. Direct labor, how will you get? Payroll accounting and time booking and timekeeping. Especially time booking is the record to find out what is the time he spent for a particular job. So that salary for that time will be now added to that particular job. That's called direct labor. If you add up these two, then it's called prime cost. Then what about the overhead, sir? Overhead will be now as per these 6 steps you have to find out and absorb here. Fourth step. Okay, fourth step. This is what about the absorption. And with that, I add the profit and fix the selling price as my quotation. I'll give the quotation this one, selling price. Okay, direct material, direct labor, prime cost. With that, overhead is added to get the cost of production. With that, profit is added to get the selling price. Cost of production and profit is added to get the selling price. Clear? Certain percentage of the cost of production is added as a profit and selling price is finalized. That's how my estimation at the time of quotation may be given. After the quotation, I may get the order, I start prepare. After the preparation, actual cost I know. Once I compare the actual cost with this actual overhead, may not be matching. I asked you to pay 100 rupees for overhead as per the previous year's experience based on absorption costing, but actually I spent 150. What can I do? While billing itself, it tells, sir, it's only estimation, sir. I will now spend this actually. If there is any variation, we'll adjust that at the last time. Similarly, estimation is given as 100. Finally, it came around 150. Now I demand to pay another 50 rupees further. So what happens? The actual overhead is only 50, sir. Yes, of course, we have to refund. That adjustment will be finalized only after the incurrence of the final costs. Hope till we now able to understand the logic. Clear? Now I will start with one illustration where I need to follow all the 4 steps: primary distribution, secondary distribution, overhead recovery rate, and then absorbing to the product. All the 4 steps are going to be completed. By completing, then I can easily find out the cost of production. After that, I'll go for the variations. First of all, we'll straight away go for a comprehensive illustration. Okay, comprehensive illustration is not the first one, I think. This is 4th one or 5th one. I'll try to finish up the 5th one first of all. Now, Modern Manufacturers Limited has 3 production departments, P1, P2, P3, and 2 service department, S1 and S2, pertaining to which are as center. So these are the production department. These 2 are service departments. Right. And direct wages for P1, P2, P3 are irrelevant. But the direct wages and direct labor for S1 and S2 are the indirect labor only. Working hours given, value of machine, horsepower of machines, and light points, floor space, all these things are available. No. This may be nothing but what? Basis of apportionment or allocation. Basis of apportionment. Apportion of what? The group to overheads. Following figures extracted from the accounting records are as entered. This will be the value. These are the overheads we have. These are the overheads, right? How these overheads are going to be shared, that detail is given here. Clear? So, table 1 is detailed about base of apportionment. The following figures extracted from the accounting records are relevant. This is what about the overheads. The expenses of service departments are allocated as under. Not only that, thereafter, all the service department overheads are going to be reallocated to the production department. No, that will be given here. Finish of primary distribution, then you can use for the secondary distribution. Step 1 being the primary distribution. Step 2 is secondary distribution. First, we will finish off the primary distribution and then we will move on to that next one. Third one being, find out the total cost of the product X which is processed for manufacture in departments P1, P2, P3 for 4, 5, 3 hours respectively. So, the hours given from this, it is very clear. Overhead recovery rate base being overhead recovery rate base being hours. Then you can find out the overhead recovery rate based on this one. Okay. You can find out overhead recovery rate. And fourth step is what? Absorption to the product. These are the 4 steps are going to be predominantly followed. After the incurrence of the actual overhead, we will compare. Okay, absorption means actual as well as estimation, and deviation will be named as under or over absorption. Never mind about that now here. In this illustration, we confine with these 4 steps only. Primary distribution information is given here. Overhead and basis of apportionment. This is okay to find out the total overhead after the primary distribution. This one, okay, S1 department, this overhead will be distributed to P1, P2, P3 and S2 in this ratio. And S2 department overheads are distributed in this ratio. So, this detail is all about for secondary distribution. And these are the this product X produced with the support of 3 departments P1, P2 and P3. 3 departments supports are taken. For P1 and P2, P3, 4, 5, 3 hours respectively. 4, 5, 3 hours respectively consumed. From this, it is very clear we need to find out what is the overhead we incur for every hour. So, then you find out the overall overhead for the P1, P2, P3 department divided by number of hours this department operated. So, working hour is given here. This is what about the base. The overhead will be divided by this one, working hours. And finally, this one is given. Okay, direct material cost and direct labor cost. See, for your better understanding, I'll just take this one first of all for a reverse calculation. I supposed to prepare the cost sheet for product X, Okay, direct material cost being 50, direct labor being 30, 80 being the prime cost. Overhead. Under that, P1, P2, P3, 3 departments were used. This product X operated in P1 department for 4 hours, operated in P2 department 5 hours, operated in P3 department 3 hours. Then you need to know what is the cost per hour of operating P1, P2, P3. Then you can easily calculate overall overhead for this product. Is that clear? Now, this process is called absorption. Beforehand, I had to find out what is that overhead per hour. For that, we need to include 3 steps: primary, secondary, and overhead recovery. Then you add up this to get the cost of production. Direct material cost arrayed from stores ledger account, and direct labor, direct material from stores ledger, direct labor is from payroll accounting, overhead is from this chapter. Yes, start with, these are the overheads we have: rent and rates, the value being 5,000, should be distributed to P1, P2, P3, these are the production department, and then S1, S2, these are the service department. And we have general lighting. This value being 600. Indirect wages, the value being 1939. Power 1500. Depreciation on machine 10,000. Sundries, other expenses 9695. Clear? My duty is to what? Apportion or allocate to 5 departments. Tell me. Try to match. Rent can be apportioned by what? Here direct wages is given, no? So direct wages case will be considered only for the service department, 1500 and 195. For other departments, it will not be applicable. It will not be applicable. Rent, what is the basis? Maybe floor space. Floor space. Lighting, light points given. Switch points or light points. Light points will be taken. Indirect wages are usually indirect wages will be allocated based on the direct wages. Not only that, any common expenses not allocated to any of the bases, then you can depend on the labor only. Only when the laborers are operated or working, all the overheads are maybe incurred. Okay, if center is holiday for the 3 days, what happens then? All the machines and other things remains as it is without any additional cost. You will not ask for any special AC, fan, electricity, or tea or snacks, right? But if human beings are working even a day, all these things are there. So always the overheads linked with the labor. That's logically correct. Power can be used horsepower. Power is different, electricity is different. Okay, big machines usually we use the power, but I'm not an electrician to explain this, but power means for the horsepower. Depreciation of machine can be using value of machine. Sundries, if nothing stated, if it may be common, then what can be followed? Direct wages may be followed. In case of floor space, what is the ratio here? 4:5:6:4:5:1. Okay, you divide this by 500, so that 4:5:6:4:1. So here 4:5:6:4:1. Is that okay? 4, 5, 6, 4 and 1. Okay. In case of light points, 2:10, 15, 20, 10 and 5. You can convert that to ratios 2:3:4:2:1. Direct wages seems to be big number. So for the direct wages, I put that here. Direct wages 3,000, 2,000, 3,000, 1,500, 195. Okay, you follow that. In case of power, horsepower 6:3:5:1:. Depreciation will be based on this value 12:16:20:1:1. Direct wages refer the above. Hope you will be now able to understand what could be the logically good connections between the overheads as well as basis of apportionment. Now you can apportion this. 5,000 will be apportioned in this ratio 4:5:6:4:1. What is the value then? 1000, 1000, 1250, 1500, 1250. See, what is the total of this number? 4, 5, 6, 4, 1, 20. This is 5000. 20 and 5000, right? So you can have mental calculations also. You forget about the 20. How many times here? 2.5 times. So 2.5 times and add 2 zeros. That's how you can easily link. 4 2.5 times being 4 plus 4, 8 plus half 2. So 10, with that 10 add 2 0. That's how you can calculate easily. Here 2 is to 3 is to 4 is to 2. 10 and 12, 12. So 12, this is 60. Is that okay? 12, 60. Then 50 rupees per share for 2 share, 100 for 3 share, 150 for 4 share, 200 and 150. Now, I'll get back to this one later. So, horsepower 6351, probably 1500. So, to 0 you need to add 6. To 0 if I add 600, 300, 500, 100 dash. That's how you can very easily calculate. 6 is to 3 is to 5 is to 1, 15, numerator value being 15,100. Otherwise, naturally what happens 100. You have to add only 2 zeros. Value of machine 12 is to 16, 28, 30, 50. 50. Is that okay? 50, this one is 10,000. So 10,000, forget about 2 zeros, 100 by 50, 2 times. 2 times. So 2 times and add 2 zeros. So 12, 2 times 24, 24, 100. 16, 32, 100. 40, double 0. 2, finally, 1 is to 1, you know. Okay, 200 rupees and here also 200 rupees. And what is the total of this one? I think 9,695. This value is also same. This value is the same. So, final value will be the same. 3,000, 2,000, 3,000, 500 and 195. 195. And the link between these two is nothing but 1939. Okay, I think 5 times. Means 1/5 value will be taken. Otherwise, you can use the calculator to get the answer. 9695 divided by 1939, maybe 5 times, inverse being 0.2. Otherwise, you have to calculate 1/5 of this easily, logically, without using the depth calculation. You can do this way. 3000 divided by 5, 600, 400, 600, 100. This one, okay. Here, one, what's the value? 39. 39. So, find out the total value. Overhead as per primary distribution. As per primary distribution. Total being 30,000. 600. Which one? Indirect wages. 600, 400, okay. 400, 600, this one is 300, okay, okay. See, if you want to correct me once that particular calculation is over, okay. Okay then. Now, come on, what's the total of this? 7,700, 7,300, 9,800, 4,700, 929. So we got the overhead as per primary distribution. We don't have the revenue from the service departments S1 and S2. Then how can I recover that overhead? I can recover those overhead from production departments P1, P2 and P3. For recovering that, I have to depend on what? This one. Okay. S1 renders services to other departments in this ratio. Then the overhead of S1 will be recovered from the other departments to whom the service is rendered. So S1 to the other departments, others. 4,700 subtract this, and that will be now recovered from the other department. Which ratio? 2:3:4:1. 2:3, okay. S1 to others. 2:3:4:1 is the ratio. Okay. 940, 1,410, 1,880, 470. Similarly, next step, S2 to others. This will be shared in the ratio of 4:2:3:1:. The total of this being 1,399. Both value will be now redistributed to the other departments. See, here is give and take. Give and take means S1 renders service to S2. Similarly, S1 gets the service from S2. Parallel, give and take. In case of give and take approach, then it is called reciprocal approach. Under reciprocal approach, we have three methods to solve this illustration. One is being the repeated distribution, very simple, easy to understand. The name itself explains easily. Okay, do it repeatedly until it becomes 0. Now S1 becomes 0. Now I suppose to distribute S2 value 1,399 for the remaining 4 departments. 4:2:3:1. By this time, 560 will be this value. 280 will be this value. 420 will be this value. And 140 will be this value. Again S1 gets the value. Until making the S1 and S2's value being 0, you have to do it repeatedly. That's why it is called repeated distribution method. Do we have any other method? So you might have studied in your school days simultaneous equations. So much of amount is from there and here. That X and Y, you can use the simultaneous equation method also. Even you can depend on trial and error method also. My focus here is to make you understand one basic comprehensive illustration. So the repeated distribution, trial and error, simultaneous equation method we'll see in the subsequent lectures. Okay. So what happens? We have completed what? We have completed apportionment logic. Under secondary distribution, we started with the reciprocal. In that reciprocal, I am going to follow repeated distribution. After that, I can find out the overhead recovery rate, and later I just add this cost to the department, to the product. Then this is called absorption. These are the 4 steps. From the step number 1, you either take apportionment basis or allocation basis, or some may be allocation, some may be apportionment. In this illustration, we have taken only apportionment basis. Secondary distribution, reciprocal, give and take approach. In case of give and take approach, reciprocal approach, we have 3 methods. You can follow one of the 3 methods, ultimate answer being the same. Either it may be repeated or trial and error or simultaneous equation. For solving this particular illustration, I have considered only the 1 methods, probably repeated distribution. Then third step, overhead recovery rate. While calculating the overhead recovery rate, so I have taken labor hours. Okay. Machine hour, labor hour, I think. Okay. I think this may be working hours, that's all. Whether it's a labor hour or machine hour, we are not sure. So anyhow, labor hour. And then I have to add this cost to the concerned product. This is called absorption. These are the 4 steps. So if you are being the cost accountant, usually cost accountants will get the job only because of this one. It means certification required only for this reason. Usually any goods manufactured requires to be certified the cost of production by a cost accountant. As a cost accountant, you have to give the certification after calculating the cost of production using this absorption costing model. Okay, primary cost, secondary cost, distribution. Once it is over, overhead recovery rate and absorb it. You estimate the cost. You have to certify the cost of production based on this calculations you have done. Right, because there may be chance of cheating. Usually, indirect taxation is levied on the cost of production. Who knows that he may manipulate by showing the cost of production at a much lower rate. The original cost of production may be 100, but he shows that it's only 60 rupees, or I may pay tax only for the 60. It may be cheating, right? So in that case, the cost auditors need will be there. So they will come and certify what is the cost of production as per these calculations. As a cost auditor, you have to find out the cost of production using these steps. Right. Now, in this illustration, we have completed one step of primary distribution, but because of this one step, we got S1 again balance. Redistribute S1 again to the other departments using this ratio 2:3:4:-1. This one. This is for S1, right? 150 is now here is. So remove this and add to all the departments in this ratio 2:3:4. I think here it is 14, 28, and 42, 56. Again, now what happens? S2 got the value. Again, you have to redistribute S2 values to the others. S2 to the other departments. In what ratio? Already we know that ratio 4:2:3:1:. Subtract the 14 here, distribute to the other departments. What's the value you are getting? I think 6 rupees, 3 rupees, 5 rupees and dash. One share may be 1.4. Single digit number. Don't go beyond that. That single digit number can be added with some other department P1 and P2, P3. I round out of this value. One share may be actually 1.4, two share being 2.8, 2.8 and 1.4, 2.8, three share being 4.2, four share being 5.6. And 1.4 seems to be meaningless, you know. I can take this somewhere here. Here I made 3, here I made 6, here I made 5. That's how you can finalize the final work. So now the ultimate value being 14 is distributed somehow. So you can redistribute. This is one set, one run. Such a way you can run number of times required to make the number single digit or reasonably single digit or two digits where the value seems to be insignificant, and finish the illustration. Now, what is the total cost here? This is what about the overhead after the primary and secondary distribution. For the last two departments, it becomes 0. For P1, it may be 9,234, P2, 9,035, this one being 12,161. Hope we'll be now able to understand. How this overhead going to be added to the product? So in the case of product, the product manufactured using the number of hours of the overhead, probably P1 department hours being 4, P2 departments hours being 5, and P3 departments hours being 3. It means we need to know the cost per hour, no? So now tell me what is the number of hours these departments were working. So I'll pick this one here. Now working hours. $3,070, 4,475, 2,419. Okay, that's all. Find out the overhead recovery rate. Overhead recovery rate, otherwise cost per hour. 9,234 amount you spend for 30-70 hours, then 3 rupees per hour, here 2.02, here 5.03. 5.03. Now I'll put the value here 3, 12 rupees, 2.02, 10.10 and 5.03, 15.09. Add up the total value. The total value being 37.19. Okay, 37.19. I add with the 80. 117.19 will be the final answer. Is that clear? Make a note of it. 12 rupees, 10.1 and 15.09. Now, so as we have completed this one, let's now start with the only this component. In case of direct distribution, how do we solve this illustration? In a light engineering factory, the following particulars have been collected for the 3 months period. You are required to reapportion the service department expenses. Already, expenses as per primary distribution is over. Expenses as per primary distribution is over. Now my duty is to redistribute this one. So how do I redistribute this? P1, P2, P3, S1, S2. Apportion the expenses of service department S2 in the proportion of 3:3:4, and those of service department S1 in the ratio of 3:1:1 to P1, P2, P3. This one will be distributed to P1, P2 and P3 in the ratio of 3:3:4. S1 will be apportioned to these 3 departments using this ratio, 3:1:1 ratio. Clear? So as the service departments are allocated only to the production department directly without getting it back, reciprocal, give and take is not there. If the give and take is missing, then this will be called as what? Direct distribution. Service department overheads only allocated to the production departments. Now the sum is very easy. S1 will be distributed to S2, expenses distributed to others in the ratio of 3:3:4. Come on. 6010 is subtracted. Distribute to these 3 departments in this ratio 1803, 1803, 2404 dash. S1 to the other departments 3:1:1 is the ratio. 45:15. For these 3 departments, 3:1:1, 2709, 903, 903. Okay. You add up these 3. 13,362, 9,871, 9,592. This is called direct, very simple. Now, next one. Step or ladder distribution. Excellent manufacturing works have two production departments, mixing and curing, three service departments, time office, stores and maintenance. The following details are available. So this is what about the expenses as per the primary distribution. How many production departments are there? Mining and curing. And curing. How many service departments are there? Three service departments. Time office, stores, maintenance. Expenses as per primary distribution being 1,44,000, 96,000, 48,000, 60,000, 36,000. So the following relevant data are available. Number of employees, number of stores requisition, machine hours given. The company consistently follow the method of secondary distribution on non-reciprocal basis. We don't follow the reciprocal basis. In case of reciprocal, we have three methods: repeated, trial and error method, and simultaneous equation method. In case of non-reciprocal method, we have the direct distribution or step or ladder method. So this company doesn't follow the reciprocal method. Anyhow, it's only confined to non-reciprocal method. Either it may be direct or repeated. I mean, it's a step or ladder. Show the apportionment of the cost of service department to production department, stating the base of computation in the form of note at the end of the exercise. Now, my intention is to distribute the service department overheads to the production department only. This is my intention. This is all about time office. How can we distribute the time office overheads to the other department? Here is basis of apportionment. Like say primary distribution, we have the common expenses distributed to the departments using the base of the same way. Time office is related to the number of employees. As per the number of employees, what is the ratio you have? Come on. 20 is to 15 is to 10 is to 8 is to 5. Number of stores requisition can be used for what? This one, stores requisition. Here 120 is to 100 is to dash dash and 30. Otherwise 12 is to 10 is to dash dash 3. This will be based on machine hours. Maintenance is depending upon the machine hours only. 36 and 24. Otherwise 3 is to 2 is the ratio. What do you know? What's the thing you have to note here? What did you notice here? Come on, tell me. In this case, the time office overhead are distributed to all the 5 departments. Stores distributed to 3 departments. Maintenance distributed to 2 departments. Like this, the distribution service department servicing to the other department gradually reduces one after one. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, like that's why it is step. Okay, step by step the service will be reduced. Service given to the other department will be reduced. The service department renders services to other departments, based on the number of other departments serviced by this department is ranked. Which department serviced the other department? Most. Time office. Which is the next one? Stores department. Which is the last one? Maintenance. In the same order, you have to now distribute this. Come on. First, rank time office overhead. This will be distributed in what ratio? 20 is to 15 is to 10 is to 8 is to 5. Time office. The first one is time office. That entire 48,000 is subtracted here, will be distributed to the other department. 20 is to 15 is to 10 is to 8 is to 5. Remember, under non-reciprocal method, the service taken by the service providing department will be always removed. If you are appointing a cook for preparing the common food, first he will taste and finish his lunch. Thereafter, the thing will come to your pocket. So the amount he eats will also be burned by the others naturally. So the time of his department rendered service to the others, and its own cost will also be recovered from the other departments only. No other way. So 20 is to 15 is to 8 is to 5 is the ratio at which you are going to share this. Come on, tell me. 20,000 for mining, 15,000 for curing, and 8,000 for stock, 5,000 for maintenance. Next rank goes to stores. In case of stores, the value distributed being 12 is to 10 is to dash is to dash is to 3. Here this value being stores 68,000. This will be distributed to all other remaining 4 departments, but stores gets the service from time office already know. The stores department, though rendered service to the times office, will not be considered. Okay, the department which rendered service most to the other department only will be taken. In reciprocal, though I rendered the service, will not be considered. Okay, clear? Hope you'll be able to now understand the logics. Okay, most of the times time office renders the service to the other departments, and time office rarely gets service from the stores. Insignificant value, remove it. Okay, now 12 is to 10 is to 3. Share the 68. I think 30 to 640. 30 to 640. 27 200. 27 200. Finally, 8,160. And the last one being maintenance. In case of maintenance, 3 is to 2 ratio, others will get nothing. The total value of these 3, 49, 160 will be subtracted. Distribute to mining and curing, the ratio of 3 is to 2. 29,496. 19,664. Now find out the total value. Only for the production department will get the value, which is being 2,26,136. 1,57,864. Clear? Now, so here we have completed which method? Step or ladder method also. Okay. See, under secondary method distribution, under secondary distribution, you can follow one of the methods prescribed here. So to make you understand the step, I have redrafted this way. The department which will have more distribution, topper and second topper, third topper. This overhead 48,000 is distributed to the 4 departments. This is distributed to 3 departments. This is distributed to 2 departments. To make you understand a step-like look, not required to post this way. You can work out this way also, no problem. The question number 3 is one of the interesting illustrations. for the step on ladder method. Practically, all the departments are reciprocal only. Service department renders service to the other service department, and some service will be taken by the same service department itself, and production department. Reciprocal only in practical sense. Though it is reciprocal, under step model, under step or ladder model, some service department renders lower service to the other department, gets more service from that department. Then automatically what happens, the least support, leave it. The highest support, you can consider that part only. If I go to the restaurant, always I pay the bill. My friend always demands I will pay whenever it is being tea shop. I'll go for 5 times, and he says I'll also contribute 5 times. Every time I'll pay 500 rupees, he pays only 50 rupees for every time. And he says, you contributed 5 times, I'm also contributing 5 times. Matching so. How will I say? So the service given by me to the others is significant and matters, and service given from him, by him to me, insignificant. So then my overhead can be shared with him, but his overhead will not be shared with me. That's the logic. Deccan Manufacturing Limited has 3 departments which are regarded as production departments. So these are the production departments. Service department costs are redistributed to these production departments using step or ladder method. So these are going to be distributed to this using step or ladder method. Estimates of factory overhead costs to be incurred by each department in the following year. So the factory overhead also be given. Primary distribution work is done. Okay. As per the primary distribution, X, Y, Z, P, Q, R, S. Then overhead here. Overhead here. As per the primary distribution. 193, 64, 83, 45, 75, 105, 30 in thousands. How will I distribute this? That data is given here. The overhead of the 4 service departments are distributed in order of P, Q, R, S respectively. Okay. So P department first you have to distribute. Second, third, and fourth. P department overhead, how much is that? 45,000. Will be distributed using which method? Number of employees, this one. So distribute P department's overhead to others using number of employees. In this case, its own will be eliminated. Its own should be eliminated. So for the other department, 100 is to 125 is to 85 is to dash is to 50 is to 40 is to 50 is the ratio. Subtract the 45 here, add to the other department in this ratio. What's the value? Is it 5,000? 5,000? 4,000? Okay, not. 10,000, right? 10,000, 12.5, 8,500, 5,000, 4,000, 5,000. Is that clear? 45,000 should be distributed in this ratio. 100 is to 125 is to 85 is to dash is to 50 is to 40 is to 50. Next, you have to distribute the Q. In case of Q, direct labor hours will be taken. So direct labor hour. Always its own will not be taken. Its own will not be taken. As we follow the step method, P has rendered service of giving food and Q has rendered service P. Sir, this value is insignificant, sir. Though the service rendered by the Q to P is insignificant, don't consider this support being supported. So because of that reason, the Q's overhead will not be again reallocated to P. So remove that one also. Remove that one also. Is that logic? This is the logic. Small support. Forget about that. Now the ratio being 4 is to 3 is to 4 is to dash is to dash is to 6 is to 3. 6 is to 3. This value being how much is for Q? 80. 80 subtracted and added to other departments. 16, 12, 16. 16, 12 and 16. Dash here 24 and 12. 24 and 12. 24 and 12. Then next we will go for what? R. R will be based on area. Area is given here. Its own will be eliminated. Also, R renders service to P and Q seems to be irrelevant as we follow the step or ladder method. So, eliminate these two. Then this value will be distributed using 3000, 1500, 1500 and 1000. Otherwise, 6 is to 3 is to 3 is to dash is to dash is to dash is to 2. Area. Now the total value for R being 105 plus 4 plus 24. How much is that? 133. This 133 will be distributed to rest of the departments. Here 57, 28.5, 28.5 and finally here 19. Now yes to the other departments using direct labor hour. The overall cost for S being 66 should be used direct labor hour. No, its own will be eliminated as well as rendering service to the other service department from whom major support is received is going to be eliminated. S gets service from P, Q and R seems to be major. Service rendered by S to these departments seems to be insignificant. So I forget about these also. Now only 4 is to 3 is to 4 is the ratio. Distribute this one. 4 is to 3 is to 4. Now the value be 24, 18, 24. So finally, we have distributed and found all the overhead only is for production departments. 300, 135, 160, 160. Now, see here. What more required? Prepare schedule. This one is over. Calculate the overhead recovery rate per direct labor hour. So this is the base. Using the base here to find out the overhead recovery rate. Direct labor hour. Direct labor hour for these three production department being 4,000, 3,000, 4,000. Now find out the overhead recovery rate, which is nothing but overhead per hour. How much? 75, 45, 40. Clear? This one is pretty simple. Any doubts here? Now let's see reciprocal redistribution method. In reciprocal, a factory has three production departments A, B and C. These are the three production departments. Also two service departments X and Y. The primary distribution of the estimated overheads in the factory has just been completed. These details and the quantum of service rendered by the service departments to the other departments. X rendered service to Y 15% and Y rendered service to X 10%. From this, what happens? Okay. X rendered service to A, B, C as well as Y. Y rendered service to A, B, C as well as X. There is give and take. As there is a give and take, automatically it falls under reciprocal method. Rendering service to the other department equivalently gets the service from that department. Or that's how you will consider. In this case, we can follow one of the three methods. Either simultaneous equation method, trial and error method, or repeated distribution method. Let's try to finish up this illustration first of all. Now, A, B, C, X and Y. Expenses as per the primary distribution 2,40,000, 2,10,000, 2,50,000, 1,40,000, 96,000. Now, department X to the other department 6:4:7 dash. Okay. X to the other department 30:20:35:15, otherwise 6:4:7:3. Subtract that 140 from here, distribute to the other departments using this ratio. A gets 42,000, B gets 28,000, C gets 49,000, Y gets 21,000. Now we have to distribute to Y to other departments. 5:8:5:2 dash. The total of Y being 1,17,000 should be subtracted so that here after Y becomes 0. Should be distributed to A, B, C and Y, X in this ratio. 46,800, 29,250. Oh, sorry, 29,250 first one, sorry. 29,250, 46,800, 29,250, 11,700. Again, now X got the value. Redistribute X again to other departments in the same earlier ratio. Subtract 11,700, distribute to the other department. This is called repeated distribution method. We are repeating this process until the value becomes very insignificant, right? Until that period, you have to repeat this. 3,510, 2,340, 4,095, 1,755. 1,755. Is that okay? Then again, now we got the value 1,755. That should be now redistributed. 5 is to 8 is to 5 is to 2 is to dash. 1,755 should be distributed. Now 439 for A, 702, 439, 176. One run is over, second run is also over. Again, we got the value 176. Still, the value is significant, so I am redistributing this x to the others in the ratio of 6 is to 4 is to 7 is to dash is to 3, the same ratio. 176 is subtracted, 53, 35, 62, 26. Again, we got the value 26 for y, redistribute that on also y. 5 is to 8 is to 5 is to 2 is to dash. Now, if I subtract the 26 here, what's the value you are getting? 6.5, 10.4, 6.5 here. X value being 26 into 2 by 20. 2.6. The value seems to be insignificant. I can add that value with this. So I make it 8, 10, 8. That's all. Hereafter, the value seems to be insignificant. I stop with this. Now, after this, the value being 3,15,260 for A, 2,87,887 for B, 3,32,854 for C dash. Rest of the two cases dash. This method is called repeated distribution method. Repeated distribution method. We started with this one only in the very first comprehensive illustration. Is that clear? So we started this illustration with this one. So trial and error and simultaneous equation methods are still pending. I can solve in case of reciprocal type of illustration by applying one of the three methods. I solved this using repeated distribution method. Will I be able to solve this under other method? Yes, of course. I can solve the same illustration under trial and error method. Yeah. Now under trial and error method, how will I calculate? Okay. Now, trial and error method. Under trial and error method, you know, I calculate only the last two columns, X and Y. Expenses as per the primary distribution being 1,40,96. Now from X to Y, how much fund is transferred? The percentage being 15 and 10. This being from X to Y, it's 15%. Subtract 1,40,000 here. Only 15% is transferred to Y. This value being 21,000. Thereafter, Y to X, this value being 1,11,000. 1 lakh? 96,000. Okay, this is 96,000. 1,17,000 you have the value. Reverse this and the amount transferable from Y to X being 10%. 11,700. Again X to Y 15%. 11,700 is subtracted, 15% on this being 1,755. From Y to X 10%. Well, cancelling full value is cancelled and the transferred value being 10%, 176. Then from X to Y 15%. 176 is subtracted, 26 will go here. Then from Y to X 10%. 26, maybe 3 rupees like. 3 rupees like. Then from X to Y 15%. 3 subtracted, while transferring that meaningless. You can stop here itself or you can go one extra step, no problem. Now, find out the total of subtracted value. Total of subtracted value. 1,40,000, 11,700, 176 and 3. 1,51,879, 1,18,781. Hereafter, I am going to find out the overhead for the 3 departments. Expenses as per primary distribution for A, B, C. How much is that in the very beginning? 2,40,000, 2,10,000, 2,50,000. Now I am going to share X values to the other department. 30%, 20%, 35%. Of this value, 1,51,878. The value what you have calculated as per the trial and error method will be shared to the other department using the percentage, 30%, 20% of this, 35% of this. Don't convert into the ratios here. Don't convert this into the ratio of 6:4:7. That's meaningless. Okay, only 30% will be taken. The another 50% already included, so only 30% is taken. It's not 30:20:35. It's 30%:20% 35%. And this value being 45,564, 30,376, 53,157. In case of Y, should be in the ratio of 25%, 40%, 25% of what? This value, 1,18,781. In that 25%, 29,696, I can round up to the next number. 47,513, 29,685. Now, after the secondary distribution, the overhead of the production departments being 3,15,260, 2,87,889, 3,32,852. This number is almost equivalent to the number we calculated under repeated distribution method. Slight difference is due to rounding of error. Clear? Hope you will be now able to understand. You can follow one of the methods in your examination, but in case if it is clearly stated you have to follow this method, then you have to go and stick on to that method only. So we have three methods to solve this illustration: repeated, trial and error method, and simultaneous equation method. Under simultaneous equation method, we can solve the illustration the same way also now. Okay, see, under simultaneous equation method, under simultaneous equation method, okay, what's the value? You have to frame two equations, x and y. Come on. The value of x is equal to 1,40,000 plus for x, y offers how much? 10%. Otherwise 0.1 of y. In case of y, 96,000 plus for y how much from x? 15%. 0.15 of x you are getting. 15 of x you are getting. Clear? Now solve this illustration. This y will be replaced with this one. X is equal to 1,40,000 rupees plus 0.1 of the y equation is going to be replaced here. 96,000 plus 0.015x. Simultaneous equation is converted into single factor equation like. So then the value being 1,40,000 rupees plus 9,600 plus, sorry, this is 0.15. Okay. If I multiply 0.1 inside, then the value being 0.015x. Now find out the value for x here. X minus 0.15 x is equal to 1,49,600. Otherwise 0.0, right? 0.15. 0.985 x is equal to this one, or x is equal to 1,49,600 divided by 0.985. The final value being 1,51,878. You get this value. The value what you arrive under trial and error method, you can get the simultaneous equation. In case of y, you can substitute this value here, 96,000. I am substituting here 96,000 plus 0.15 of this value. Then what is the ultimate value? 1,18,000. 1,18,782. So you get this value. After this, you have to rework out this one. This is step number 1. This is step number 2. Under trial and error method, this is the step number 1. This is the step number 2. Step number 2 is common for trial and error method as well as simultaneous equation method. Clear? So with that, reciprocal method is over completely. We can solve under one of the three methods. If the question paper is not stating any specific method, it's your choice. Else you go with the questions demanded. If it is clear, text me so that we'll move on to the next illustrations. Now we'll move on to the next illustration. So we have completed majority logics. So trial and error, simultaneous, or the point number 3 is completely over. Second point is also over. In primary distribution, allocation based model also be now referred. So with that, all the 4 steps will be completely over. The allocation based model here. Question number 6. One of the interesting illustrations. The following cost information for the period is available for a small engineering. We have been given allocated expenditure as well as expenditure to be apportioned. Overall cost can be allocated, can be apportioned. These costs are already allocated. This will be apportioned using the base of apportionment. In case of allocated cost, the whole cost will be transferable to the department. So we have production department, service department. And additional information available. Floor area, horsepower, number of employees, investment. This may be the basis of apportionment. This one is basis of distribution of service department cost. This is all about redistribution. Okay. In case of stores and maintenance, we have 2 departments, machine and assembly, plant and stores, 4 departments. This stores and maintenance, you know, this one. This will be allocated to the other 3 departments using 50, 20 and 30. General plant services in proportion to the number of employees. Number of employees is given here. 30, 15, 5 and 10. You are required to prepare an overhead distribution statement in detail. Service department costs are to be distributed by continued distribution method. So continued distribution method. General plant services may be used for distributing the plant department overheads. Okay, plant will not consider here. So 5 will not be considered. I can simplify this way: machinery, assembly, plant and stores, where stores will be in this ratio of 50, 20, 30 dash. In case of plant, 30, 15, its own will not be taken, 10 will be taken. This is the basis of apportionment. Plant gives the service to the stores department and gets the service from the plant department also. So reciprocal is there. Reciprocal, then we have 3 methods. But here clearly stated you have to go for the repeated distribution method only. Calculations are to be shown to the nearest rupee. So you have to be careful with this. Now come on. We'll try to post all these overheads here. This one. Allocated expenditure. Apportioned, to be apportioned expenses. Now we have machine, assembly, plant and stores. Expenses as per primary distribution. Okay. Oh, sorry. Expenses to be allocated. Allocated expenses. In case of allocated expenses, you no need to distribute further. Whole amount of the department identified is directly transferable. So indirect wages. Indirect wages. 29,300. These things are already known for the departments given here. So I'll directly consider here 8,000, 6,000, 4,000, 11,300. Stores consumed. Stores consumed 2,200, 1,700, 1,100, 1,700. Supervisory salary 14,000. This entire 14,000 is only for the plant department. Supervisor and others. Entire value is for plant only. Hope will be now able to understand. Then next one being apportionment. Apportionment. We have some common overheads: power and fuel, rent, insurance, depreciation. Total being 15,000, 15,000, and insurance 3,000, depreciation 1 lakh. This common expenses to be apportioned based on some base of apportionment. That one is given here. Yes, come on, tell me. Power can be apportioned using what model? Power. Horsepower predominantly. So horsepower is given here. So 7:1:-2. Rent can be allocated using the floor area 4:1:2:1:3. Insurance being, probably if it is being the insurance of assets, value of investment will be taken. If the insurance is related to the employees insurance, okay, health of employee, then this will be taken. So you can give your own assumption. Predominantly we consider this as being the assets only. So 64, 20, 1 and 150. 64:20:1:150. I am removing 15. Okay, 15. I am removing 4 zeros. And depreciation will also be naturally using the same ratio we can distribute. So now apportionment is there. While apportioning, 15,000 will be apportioned 7:1:2 ratio, 10,500, 1,500 dash 3,000. Am I right? In case of rent, 4:2:1:3, also 10. Per share is 1,500 for 4, 6,000 rupees, and for 2, 3,000 rupees, for 1, 1,500, for 3, it is 4,500. And insurance 64 plus 20 plus 1 is plus 15. 100. If I divide the 3,000 by 100, 30 rupees per share. So 64 into 30, come on, tell me. 1920, am I right? 1920, 600, 30 and 450. In case of depreciation should also be the same. Matching then directly 64,000, 20,000 and 1,000 and finally 150. Right. 1,000 and 150. 1,000, 15,000. Okay. So here it is 1,000 and then 15,000. Now get the total value here. This is what about the expenses as per the primary distribution. Expenses as per the primary distribution being 92,620, 32,800, 31,630, 35,950. Now for the secondary distribution, the ratio is already calculated. I'll now post this here. Yeah. Tell me. Is that okay? Now, repeated distribution method is followed. So I am going to follow that. First, let me start with S. S will be shared in this ratio 5:2:3 dash. 35,950 subtracted and added to other departments using this ratio. 17,975, 975, 7,190, 10,000, 785. Similarly, in case of P, the value being 6 is to 3 is to dash is to 2. Here the total being 42,415 should be subtracted. Distribute to the 3 using this ratio. 21 135 11,568 7,712, and then yes, 5 is to 2 is to 3 is to dash. 7712 is subtracted, distributed using this ratio. 3,856 1,542 2,314. Again P, 6 is to 3 is to dash is to 2. 7712, sorry, 2314 is subtracted. You will get 1,262 for M, 631, and here 421. Again S will be redistributed. 5 is to 2 is to 3 is to dash. 421 should be distributed. 211, 84, and 126. And in case of P, again this 126 should be distributed. 69, 34, and 23. Again you get S. 23 should be negative. 16, 7. Hereafter you can round off. Now finally the value being, for the service department becomes 0. For production department be 92,620. With that you have to add these values. 1,39,144, 53,847. Hope you will be now able to understand the allocation concept here. Rest will be very easy. Only allocation concept is incorporated here. That's why this illustration seems to be pretty different. Yes, it will be normal like the earlier illustration. So with that, we have completed all the aspects for the first 4. So we have completed the allocation also. So first 4 steps are completely over. Before we go for the under or over absorption, what is a flaw you will do while calculating these things? We will now discuss that one, and absorption also. Overhead record rate. Let's see. If it is clear, text me so that we will finish up the rest of the illustrations related to the concept that we have discussed here. Clear? Seven, 8, 9, all the 3 are making you to understand. 7, 8, 9, all the 3 are for making you to understand flawless preparation. There may be misguided. Okay. Now to avoid, you have to understand these 3 also. 7, 8, 9. Clear? Text me. Yes. Question number 7. Self-Help Limited has gensets, produces its own power. Data for power costers are as follows. 2 production department and 2 service departments are there. Okay. And horsepower, needed capacity and used. This is the needed capacity, this is used in terms of hours given. During the month of May, cost of generating power amounted to rupees this much, 9,300. And 2,500 was considered to be fixed. In that, 2,000 being 500 being fixed. Then balance being variable. How much is that? Balance being 6,900 being variable, 800 being variable. Service department X rendered service to A, B and Y in the ratio of 13:6:1. This renders service to the other departments in the ratio of 13:6:1. Y rendered service to A and B in the ratio of 31:3. Then from this it is very clear, step method will be followed. First department renders service to the 3 and second department renders service to the 2 departments. Gradually decreasing one after one, then it is step or ladder method. Given that the direct labor hours in department A and B are being this much, find the power cost per labor hour in each of these 2 departments. Now this will be segregated to A, B, X, Y. Here the overheads are classified into fixed and variable nature. Fixed nature will be distributed using the capacity of the plant. In case of variable, used capacity will be followed, right? So as very often I tell you, no, in case of material, Singer Academy distributes the material, then I can recover the cost of material from each and every students. How many students I have, to that extent I can recover the costs. To that extent only I spend the costs. But in case of fixed overhead like rental, even if I have only one student, the same rent is payable. For the full capacity of 100 students, still I have to pay the same rent. So how much I can recover from every customer? If I have only one student, will I be able to recover the entire rent from that one customer? It's not practically possible. The same happens in case of variation in the productions. Needed capacity will be, means installed capacity will be used. So here needed capacity will be taken. Needed. That's a base. In case of a variable, used capacity will be the base. Here the ratio being 5:10. You can of course divide this by 2000 also. So 5:10:6:4. In this case 8:13:7:6 is the ratio. Now as per this ratio, A will get 500, B will get 1000, X will get 600 and Y will get 400 because the value is equal to 25. Here 20, 28, 34. 34, this is 68, 2 times, so 2 times plus 2, 0. So 16, 2 times 1600, 2600, 1400 and 1200. So this is what about the overhead for the primary distribution, expenses as per the primary distribution. As this illustration is pretty different, the overhead will be classifiable into fixed and variable, thereafter distributing to the departments. This is one of the interesting illustrations, that's why I included here. Then the overall cost being 2100, 3600, 2000 and 1600. What about the next step? Secondary distribution. Under secondary distribution, X department distributes to 3 departments. So 13:6:1, -1. So 2000 is removed and will be added to the other departments in this ratio. 1300, 600, 100. Here the calculations are pretty simple. Only to make you understand this concept, this illustration actually was passed in the examination. Okay. Now in case of Y, 31:3, dash. So here 1700 is going to be subtracted. This is 34. So exactly half, then 1550. Half of this and add 2 zeros and 1.5 with that add 2 zeros. That's how you can see segregation. If you don't understand the concept what I'm guiding you, You can use the normal sign to calculate this one to segregate in this ratio 31:3. Now the total overhead and after the primary and secondary distribution being 4,650 and 4,350. So find the power cost per labor. 4,950. Okay, 950 and 350. Apart from that, you have to calculate what? Cost per laborer. What is the cost per laborer? A department has 1,650 hours. 1,650, 2,175. Then overhead recovery rate being, divide this overhead by the hours. Then here the value being 3, here the value being 2. 3 and 2. Clear? Now, we'll move on to the next illustration. This illustration is all about to calculate overhead recovery rate for absorption purpose. This illustration, ABC Limited manufactures 4 variable of product name, namely A, B, C and D. If the company manufactures only one variety, the monthly production can either be 5,000 of A, 10,000 of B, 15,000 of C and 30,000 of D. I explained this output based calculations finally. Let me finish up with the other models first of all. Right. Now, what happens here? What are the requirements here? Prepare a statement showing the allocation of factory overheads which amounted to rupees 1,08,000. So factory overhead being 1,08,000. It should be allocated to these 4 departments, 4 products or department. Under what basis? These are the bases. Direct material, direct labor, prime cost, units produced, direct labor hours, machine hours. Actually, the same illustration was asked in the examination of CMA, leaving the 3 and 4. 1, 2, 5, 6, these are the only 4 items were considered as basis and asked the answer to be given in your examination. How do I calculate the overhead recovery rate? Overhead recovery rate will be calculated this way, overhead divided by the base. In the cost sheet chapter itself, this overhead recovery rate was used. Okay, in the illustration number 2, I think. In illustration number 2, overhead recovery rate, where we used certain percentage on the direct wages as factory overhead, certain percentage of the factory cost as the administration overhead as the selling distribution overhead. Like any base you can take. For the overhead recovery rate, overhead divided by the base. Here the base in the very first instant is all about direct material cost. Direct material cost. If I use the direct material cost, how do I absorb? The same, overhead recovery rate divided by base. Here, total. Total direct material cost being 3,000, 6,000, 9,000 and 18,000. I think 36,000. Direct labor being 18,000 rupees. Direct labor hours in total being 600. and machine hours being 60. In this case, direct material cost, the overhead being 1,08,000 rupees, divide that by direct material cost being 36,000 in total. Then come on, tell me what is the value in percentage? The value in percentage being 300. So, direct material cost is equal to 300% of the material. Then material cost for A being 3,000 means what is the direct material cost for the department A? Should be 300% of this, otherwise 3 times. 3,000 into 3, 9,000. 6,000 into 3, 18,000. 9,000 into 3, 27,000. 18,000 into 3, 54,000. Such a way the overhead can be allocated to the products using the direct material cost. What happens, sir, in case of direct labor cost? Direct labor cost. Same way, overhead divided by the base, in this case being the direct labor. The overall direct labor cost being 18,000 rupees. So divide this by 18 in percentage. Probably 600%, otherwise 6 times. Whatever the direct labor cost you incur for every department, overhead will have 6 times over that cost. If the direct labor cost for the department A being 1500, then overall value being 6 times of that. 6 times of that being 9,000. And here 3,000 into 6 times 18,000, 27,000 and 54,000. And then next one being the prime cost model based on prime cost. What is the prime cost here? Prime cost here being 4,500, because add the direct material, direct labor will be the prime cost here 9,000, and this will be 13,500, and this will be 27,000. Overall prime cost in this case being 54,000. 54,000. Is that clear? 54,000. Now overhead recovery rate being total overhead divided by the base being the prime cost, which is 54,000. Now naturally 200% of the prime cost will be your prime cost. So 4,500 into 200% being 9,000, 9,000 into 2%, 200% being 18,000. Otherwise simply 2 times of that value. So 27,000 and 54,000. Surprisingly, under this in this illustration, whatever the means absorption model you follow, you get the overhead to be distributed to all the departments equally. Practically, it's not possible. Based on the basis you take, the answer may be totally different. Surprisingly, here the illustration gives the same answer, not necessarily the practical life. You understand? And fifth one is all about direct labor hours. Direct labor hours. Units I will guide you later on. So direct labor hours. Under direct labor hours, how many hours are there? So 1,08,000 rupees is the overhead divided by this amount spent for 600 hours. It means for every hour, come on, tell me, for every hour, 180 rupees per labor hour. A consumes 50 hours per hour, 180 means 180 into 50. Overhead recovered for A being 9,000, here 18,000, here 27,000, here 54,000. Surprisingly, both are matching. Yes, I will go for what method? Sixth one, machine hour method. Machine hour method. Under machine hour method, 1,08,000 divided by the total number of machine hour being 60. Then ultimately the value being 1,800, I think, right? 1,800 rupees will be the cost per machine hour. The machine hour required for A department being 30 into 1,800, 54,000, and 15 into 1,800, 27,000, and 10 into 18,000, 1,800, 18,000, 5 into 1,800, 9,000 will be the value. Hope you will be now able to understand all the 5 models. Last one model to be completed here. Now, in case of units produced model, listen carefully. We have 4 different units A, B, C, D. Units being 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, 30,000 rupees. What does it mean? Whatever the material you have, using that, if you produce A, you can produce 5,000 units. Instead of that, if you produce B, you can produce 10,000 units. If you produce C, 15,000 units can be produced. If you produce D, you can produce 30,000. Clear? Hope you'll be now able to understand. What does it mean? You need to have the flour, okay, for producing or preparing or cooking. Idli, dosa and all, isn't it? So you can prepare what? Idli, dosa, mini idli and uttapam. You understand? You have a bucket full of what? Flour to prepare. Usually the size of mini idli is very small one. Okay, you use only 1 scoop flour. In case of idli, you need to have 2 scoop of flour. In case of dosa, you need to have 3 scoop, and here it may be 4 scoop like. So if we have, what happens? Around 30 scoop of flour, you can produce 30 mini idlis or 15 idlis or 10 dosas or 7.5 uttapams. But here whatever it may be, you can produce how many uttapam? 5,000. How many dosas? 10,000. How many idlis? 15,000. How many mini idlis? 30. From a scoop, from a bucket. From this, it is very clear the ratio or the scoop requirement being, from 1 scoop, 6 mini idlis can be manufactured or prepared, and 3 idlis produced, and 2 dosas prepared, and 1 uttapam is prepared. Otherwise, 1 uttapam is equal to 6 mini idlis, and 1 dosa is equal to 6 mini idli required for 2 dosa. Otherwise, 3 mini idli required for 1 dosa, and here 2, this is 1. This is 1. You write in an inverse manner. Okay, the flour requirement being, I converted into the lower denominator. Lower denominator, if I have only 1 small scoop, 6 mini idlis can be prepared with the uttapam's scoop. Okay, otherwise you convert that into 1, 2, 3, 6 ratio like. You understand? So this is the logic. So 1 uttapam is equal to 6 mini idli, 2 dosas are equal to 3 mini idli, sorry, 1 dosa is equal to 3 mini idli, and 1 idli is equal to 2 mini idli, and 1 mini idli is equal to 1 mini idli. Okay, 1 uttapam is equal to 6 uttapam, 6 mini idli. I converted, sorry, I am getting confused, confusing you. I am converting everything into the mini idlis like. Clear, this is the ratio. So 1 mini idli requires 1 mini idli flour, and 1 idli requires 2 mini idlis flour, and 1 dosa requires 3 mini idlis flour, and 1 uttapam requires 6 mini idlis flour. Then only you will be able to understand this one. Currently, how many units are produced? 675, 1800, 4050, and 9450. 9450. Okay, A becomes or requires more material, 6 material. I am converting everything into D. Convert into D. D is equivalent. Convert into D is equivalent. Here into 3 times, here into 2 times, and here into 1. So what is the value? 675 into 6, 4050, and 1800 into 3, 5400, and 8100, and here 9450. So overall production in this case being 27,000. This is what about the capacity. Now I use this for this purpose. Okay. Yes. Now, using sales unit, I am going to distribute. The overhead in this case being, how much? Overhead in this case, 1,08,000 rupees. What is the total number of units equivalent to the lower denominator or smaller production unit? D. 27,000 D can be produced. 27,000 D can be produced. 27,000 is the denominator value for 1,08,000 rupees. Now come on, 4 rupees is the material cost for 1D. 1D. Now tell me how many D is equivalent for A. Though you produced 675 A, but which is equal to 4,050 D. Like every day 4 rupees means you have to multiply this with 4. 4,050 into 4, how much? 16,200. 5,400 into 4, 21,600. 21,600. Then 32,400. Finally 37,800. This is the logic you have to understand. Clear? If it is clear, text me. So we'll go for the final illustration today. So you got very interesting math, right? Final illustration today. The last illustration is pretty simple. Let's try to finish up that in a matter of 5 minutes. Right. Now, XYZ manufactures household pumps which pass through 3 departments, namely foundry, machine shop, and assembly. The manufacturing expenses are as follows: FMA, direct wages, factory overheads. The factory cost of manufacturing a type C pump was prepared by the company as follows: direct wages, wages for. So we have 3 departments. The direct wages for the 3 department FMA being 2 rupees, 4 rupees, 2 rupees. Okay, 8 rupees apart from the direct material 16. Factory overhead is recovered using which method? Direct wages, certain percentage of the direct wages. So overhead divided by the base. Here the base is taken as what? Direct wages. Overall factory overhead 1,05,000 rupees, direct wages being 70, then overhead recovery rate for this one using the direct wage being the base. So then overhead by direct wages will be taken. So 1,05,000 divided by 70, 150%. Is that okay? So then they got the direct wages for the 3 departments 8. Factory overhead being 150% of the direct wages is found out, which is 12, and total cost being 36. Direct material, direct wages, factory overhead. It seems that there is some fallacy. Try to correct it. There may be some fallacy, some errors. Try to correct it. What is that error here? Okay, a good eater and poor eater go for the restaurant. The bill will be shared equally. How logical it is. Hmm? The person who took only 2 idlis, another person who completed 10 ghee roasters. And after that, the bill will be shared equally. Meaningless. That's called blanket rate. It's not accepted. The same happened here. This C-type pump consumes hours from F, M, A totally different. But overhead recovery rate for F being how much? 5,000 by 10,000, 50 percentage. 90,000 divided by 50,000, 180 percentage. A, 100 percentage. You have to calculate the overhead recovery rate for each and every department. Based on that, you have to calculate. Direct material being 16, direct wages for F, M, A. 2 rupees, 4 rupees, 2 rupees, 8. 24 being the prime cost. And factory overhead being for F, M, A. In case of F, what is the value? 50 percentage only will be taken, 1 rupee. For M, 100 percentage will be taken, 100 percentage will be taken, 4 rupees. For A, 150 percentage will be taken, 150 percentage on this being 3. Then 8 rupees. Is that clear? 150% 3, correct? This is 180. No, this one is 180 percentage. Oh, sorry, this is 100 percentage. Come on, 180 percentage on 4 being 7.2 and 100 percentage of A being 2 rupees. So 10.2 is the correct absorption, but they have absorbed 12 percentage. Somebody else's bill is now added here, like. So you have to recover only 10.2 from here, and then the ultimate total value to be charged from that person is how much? 34.2. 34.2. Clear? With that, all the concepts related to this one is over. So we have completed up to this part. Completely over. Now, how do I compare the actual with the absorbed one? If there is any mismatch, how can we handle? That will be separately studied. How do we calculate the machine hour rate? That will be separately studied. So 2 plus 2 illustrations for that. A comprehensive illustration. 3 illustrations for the machine hour rate and 2 illustrations for the under recovery and over recovery and treatment, and 2 advanced problem from the instrument material. Only 7 illustrations are there. We'll complete comfortably in the next class. Okay. The next class will complete this chapter. Okay, that's all for today.